I cannot believe that we're already in the back half of 2024.
Are you kidding me?
But here we are. Before you know it, the calendar will be turning again, and that means we are already getting ready for 2025 conferences, and one that I'm personally very excited to attend, again, is the Insights EDU Conference. If you care at all about growing enrollment and building a student-centered higher ed experience, you really should be at this conference. Registration is now open, so secure your spot while early bird pricing is still available. Visit insightsedu.com for more information and to register. That's visit insightsedu.com for more information and to register.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and today we are extremely excited to announce our paid subscription service. By subscribing today, you will get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to ed up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you on another episode. And I'll tell you guys, this is an interesting time. We talk about higher education a lot on this podcast. Obviously, we make education your business. But we're seeing now, as we get closer to what many colleges are looking at as a fall term, for those that are on a standard schedule and don't have non-standard term entry points. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should take a look at that. But for standard term colleges, FAFSA is coming into view. Enrollment isn't where they want it to be, and so we're seeing lists and lists of expense cutting, which is a pretty dangerous game to be in. There is something to be said for not cutting your way to prosperity. It is really hard, but colleges are trying to cover budget deficits right now because, look, it's really hard to see your top line revenue when FAFSA created a lot of smoke and mirror. There's going to be a lot of melt for schools who have students that just cancel out and don't start. Are they going to go to another college? Who knows? They might just not go to college for a year or take a year off. These are all the things that we're contending with. By the way, that doesn't even get to retention of your current students who are having financial problems. There is a need for focused student attention in an individualized way, not just shotgun, an individualized focus on attention for students as they progress. And so I believe we have here a guest with us that's going to be able to tell us a little bit about individualization expectations of higher education. Let's get him in right now, ladies and gentlemen. He's Dr. Joel English, and he is the president of AIM. And he's going to tell us what AIM is because it's super cool, and I like somebody else to tell it. What's going on, Joel? How are you?
Hey, great to talk to you. Great to be here. Thanks for the work you do and for putting me on here. So AIM is Aviation Institute of Maintenance. We have 15 AIM campuses around the country, roughly 5,000 students across those 15 campuses. And I know that's both small and big. I'll look forward to getting into what I mean by that in a little bit. But the bottom line is Aviation Institute of Maintenance prepares FAA certified aircraft technicians to go to work for airlines and aircraft manufacturers. And go to work to try to keep us flying and safely and on time.
Amazing.
So I heard someone told me, could have been somebody that works for you named Charlie Parker, that 25, 28, I can't remember the exact stat, % of all aviation mechanics come from AIM colleges. Do you know what stat I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's 22% of all aircraft technicians that are certified each year come from the AIM campuses. And so to be sort of responsible for almost a quarter of all certified aircraft technicians coming out of schools sounds big. And yet you heard my overall population across the 15 campuses. And again, 15 campuses probably sounds big. But 5,000 students may not sound big. And you do the math, that's about 330 students per campus on average. So yes, we're a very large presence in the aviation maintenance field. We're the largest group of schools. In fact, with 15 campuses, the next largest only has about 5 campuses. So we're big in aviation maintenance, but we focus small. We focus on that aircraft technician program, and so only 300 students per campus certainly sounds pretty piddly if you're a community college where there are 20 or 30,000 students and 200 programs, which is common for a community college or a university, same kind of numbers. We really focus on aircraft technician and creating the qualified aircraft technicians. And by having that focus and putting our schools in aviation cities that are in dire need for aircraft technicians, that's how we're able to be kind of the primary resource for aircraft technicians for Boeing and United Airlines and American Airlines, some of our partners. And so we do what we do. And yeah, I'm glad to say we do it at a scale a little bit larger than others.
That's amazing. And by the way, my amazing button that I have, this one,
Amazing.
probably sounded a lot louder the first time I pressed it, as I have just discovered that my daughter was here or must have been here messing with all of my settings. And so my volume on my sound machine was up to 100%. So if you're not awake, you would have been right when I pressed that button. But, you know, look, 5,000 students, I don't care how many campuses you have, 5,000 students is a lot of students. And there's institutions out there who would kill to have 5,000 students right now. What I think that one of the differences that you have is the multi-campus management component that comes with this. Back in my day, at one point, I worked for a university system that had 42 campus locations, and it brings different levels of management, oversight, expertise, compliance, right? As you move,
transparency, all of that.
There's so many parts of it. And those are things that many leaders in higher education will never experience. What can you tell us about multi-state, multi-campus management?
Yeah, so I think there are some education nerds that listen to your show, so I'm gonna get nerdy on it. We have 15 AIM campuses, like I said. We also have 5 schools in Virginia called Centura College and Tidewater Tech. If anybody was able to see video and look at my logo, you'll see it's Aviation Institute of Maintenance, Centura College, Tidewater Tech. So 20 campuses. Of those 20 campuses, 13 are main OPE IDs, right? So the Department of Education sees us as 13 campuses. We are in 12 states. So I have 12 state departments of education to keep happy. And it puts a kind of complexity to it. So 5,000 AIM students and another 1,000 at the other schools. So 6,000 students overall. But at a level of complexity with the 13 OPIDs, the 12 different states, pretty much every program has some kind of programmatic accreditor, like the FAA oversees the AIM campuses, and most programs have something like that. It's a level of complexity that's pretty fun. I've been at the organization for 22 years, so it's in my blood, and I know how to think about. It's not just during COVID, what does the state say we can and cannot do? No, it's what can 13 states say we can and cannot do, and juggling all of that regulation all at once
This
is it's right. It's a lot to take on, but when you run multi-state, multi-locations, you have to have both staff that are crisp and clear on the local level about what they can and cannot do and how to proceed in a given state or situation. But also at our home office, and I'm dialed in from our Virginia Beach home office where we operate all the locations, and I've got a compliance staff and a financial aid staff and IT staff who all think in terms of 20 locations, and every button we push, we know that if your daughter has cranked up the amplitude on that button, it's going to affect 20 locations when we push it, and that's how we think and operate.
Epic.
You know, you made me think as you're talking about complexity a little bit, because that is complex. As a proprietary institution, you have political dances that you must do too. You must involve the political arena. Which I always found fascinating about AIM is that it's one thing if you're a politician and you don't love proprietary schools, which many politicians don't, and they teach that school teaches a business program, and you go, well, the community colleges can do this, no problem. I don't know why we need this school or need that school.
Yeah, but
how do you not support aviation tax? Right? I mean, there's this funny leverage that you have amongst lobbying and politicians and so on. I mean, there is some distinct niche value to the programs that you offer. Personal value, like I don't want 22% less airline technicians and mechanics working on the planes. That does not sound good.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about how you manage the opinions around the work that you're doing?
100%. And first of all, let me say this. I was at a conference last week, and one of the audience members said, with the proprietary school sector, which we certainly are a big part of, we were created by one guy who was into aircraft, and our founder, was passionate about aviation and built the Aviation Institute of Maintenance, and we grew from there, and a very pure place. But that does put us in the proprietary sector. So I was at this conference last week, and one of the audience members asked, I know that Republicans love us and Democrats hate us. How do you manage within that environment? And I corrected the audience member to say, I don't think that the Democratic politicians think in terms of hating anything. I don't think any politician gets into politics because they hate things. I think they get into politics because they love things, and the things that they love are often different between Republicans and Democrats. Now, forgive me if I'm being a little bit cliche about the sides here, but we know that generally speaking, Republicans are driven in a positive way from free enterprise and free marketplace and the innovation that comes in a for-profit world. And Democrats are often motivated by how they can everyone can come up together, how we can take wealth, spread it over multiple people, multiple backgrounds, and overall make a better society around with all people, especially those who are disenfranchised or need the help. So the way I operate is to understand that everybody loves something. And I don't really spend a whole lot of time on what they hate. I don't spend a lot of time on the fact that Democrats generally have acted antithetically to a for-profit school. What I say is, what can I do for you and your constituents that will latch on to what you do well? And so that's how I've been successful. We're in Virginia. Bobby Scott, the ranking Democrat leader for decades in the workforce and education sector, has been to every one of my Virginia schools, has acted directly on behalf of my schools. And if you ever ask Bobby Scott about the for-profit school industry, he will say there are a lot of bad actors out of there, but I got some good schools in my district, and he'll name us and ECPI and those who understand that we're actually all in this together. Let me give you one more example. I know I'm going long-winded, but
no, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, you push my button here. So at my Chicago campus, Dick Durbin spent a morning with me and met my students, allowed me to introduce him to my faculty and some of my employers and the community college that I work in tandem with, and as a partner. Pete Buttigieg, the next month, came and said, Senator Durbin was here. He said I needed to see this school. And of course, he's the Secretary of Transportation over aviation in my world. And how did I get these prominent Democrats to be friendly? And the answer is, do you happen to know how many aviation maintenance schools there are in the city limits of Chicago?
Zero.
The answer is zero, other than my own. And when I came into Chicago, I put it in the south side of Chicago, where people are in the greatest need of the uplifting power of education. And when I did that, I also went to Olive Harvey Community College, one of the I think it's 9 colleges within the city of Chicago system. And I said, look, I know you're the Transportation and Logistics College of the City Colleges of Chicago. I would love to give you an aviation maintenance degree program. So I know you can't afford it because it takes about $7-8 million to create a campus, one of my campuses. I said, you probably don't have the $8 million. I know that employers have asked you to create an aviation maintenance program. So here's what we're going to do. Any student at Olive Harvey who wants to become an aviation mechanic can come to AIM. I will charge them only the cost of the community college tuition rate. And then they can apply all of those credits toward your associate degree. And that is happening live today. Because I'm willing to give, because I'm willing to be part of the culture and community of higher education in the areas that I serve. Olive Harvey was willing to say, that's a deal I cannot refuse on behalf of my students. And Senator Dick Durbin could not refuse coming to see what it was all about. And so I dare to say I have friends in Bobby Scott, friends in Dick Durbin, friends across the entire country who understand, just like you said, we need more qualified, certified aircraft technicians who understand safety, not fewer. And we're willing to erase or blur some of the lines that we used to call sacred in order to do something good on behalf of industry and on behalf of students. So that's how I think, that's how we operate, that's how we do it.
I like your style, dude.
I love that because you've found the passion of those that you're trying to communicate with.
Yep.
I think to your point, for a long time it was, well, this type of school or that type of school is better or worse or this or that. And when it comes down to it, and when you get down to the student level, there are, and you want to go to a school and become an aviation technician, and you're in the South Side, wherever you put it in Chicago,
yep.
And you don't have an option, and now you do.
Yeah,
what is
right.
that doing for the economy? What is that doing for generational wealth of this family now that this person's gotten into a career that they would never been able to touch before if AIM didn't go in there and you didn't launch that campus? So I think we do a disservice to our friends in proprietary education because they go in and they're able to do things that for other university types just cannot do for a number of reasons, which I could give this dissertation on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many barriers to launch something quickly if you have committees or you have state funding or you just can't do it in the same way, where if you're proprietary, you can go, we're going there, we're gonna get the capital and we're going in, and that's it. Calling all higher ed marketing and enrollment management professionals. Here. The Insights EDU conference is back. This is your chance to level up your marketing and enrollment management strategies, and the EdUp Experience podcast will be there once again. Join us at the Ritz-Carlton, New Orleans, February 12th through 14th for an unforgettable conference. Registration is now open with early bird pricing.
Outstanding.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Are you enjoying the conversation so far? Good, I hope so. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early before anybody else and ad-free, so you don't have to hear my voice during these ads? And did you also know that you could get extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. So go to edupexperience.com, that's EDUP experience.com, and become a subscriber today. First, you got to sign up to our free email newsletter, and then you'll find out how to become a subscriber. Again, go to edupexperience.com.
Yeah, we're going to pay for it. We're not going to ask, of course, we're going to ask permission insofar as all of the regulatory permissions, but
Right.
we're not in a position often that we have to wait on grants or beg for state allocations. Every time I build a campus, I fund every dollar of it myself as our institution, which allows us to say yes when others are saying, I don't know, let's wait a while, let's see if the money can come through, etc. And I'm going to just tell you this, and you can broadcast this. I will make this on my bumper sticker and carry it around with me. community colleges and public universities are the ones that are much more concerned with money than a for-profit school. And because I've seen it 100 times, how many times
It's fuzzy math.
how many times have I heard a community college say, well, it's all about the funding? And we don't say it that way. We say, you know what? The funding will come. This is called investing in the future of communities, the future of individual students, investing in the future of industry, and yes, investing in the future of our own business and organization as well. And so we're able to make decisions more in a more agile way, than public institutions are often, and so it allows us to have a bigger impact quicker, I think.
Do you think that we appropriately celebrate the work of proprietary institutions in the U.S.? Do you because there's not I think because of the 2010s, 2011 through 16 or so, it was very divisive and it was very negative. And then you come out on the other side and a lot of the bad actors in the sector have disappeared. And so what happens when a bunch of bad actors disappear? Well, you're left with the best of the best.
Yeah.
And the tide is never turned to go, okay, the bad actors essentially eliminated themselves because of the pressures. They couldn't handle the pressures. So look at the best of the best. And this is why I bring this up. Because right now, nonprofits, public colleges, private colleges, doesn't matter, is the conversation switches, I'll say switches, but it cultivates itself to ROI. What am I getting for this investment? And we in higher education are struggling in many of these colleges to go, well, if you get a degree in history or you get a degree in this, your ROI is going to be that. I don't, and be in my best interest as a university to help you get a job, which I've never done before, or at least not well, or not with much intention. Because usually I'll just slap you on the back and say, congratulations, Joel, you just got this piece of paper, now go out to the workforce. Well, that's not going to be good enough now as I work to define my ROI. I'd really like to get you into this job so I can report back to my incoming student as a part of marketing that people are working. What I think we fail to realize, and I'm soapboxing a little bit because I worked in for-profit institutions for 15 years. But I think what we fail to realize is that our proprietary education friends have, not only do they have robust career services divisions, right, to be able to go out and develop partnerships so that students can get jobs, but because we want to do that, but also because the regulations are eyeing these institutions to say, are you doing this well enough? And so the fact that they're getting, you're placing students in jobs better than well enough is a model now for, I think, how other institutions should look at the future of career services. What do you think about soapboxing?
Yeah, 100%. So let me take it from a personal level for me. I told you I've been with our organization for 22 years. Before that, 23 years ago and 25 years ago, I was a professor of English at Old Dominion University here in Norfolk, Virginia, where I live. My PhD is in rhetoric and composition. I've got 3 English degrees, and being an English professor is what it's all about. So as an English professor of about 4 years at ODU, I developed a problem that I was either going to look at or ignore. And the problem was, where do my English major graduates go after graduation? Right.
Well, let's start the insanity.
Yeah, so, like my fellow communications and professors and sociology professors and religious studies professors, and frankly anything that's in the fine arts or you know what I'm talking about, does not necessarily lead to any kind of employment. And so on one hand, in the English department, I was part of the group that was encouraged to bring our 130 English majors to 150 English majors. So I had this pressure to proselytize. And at the same time, I watched my graduates go after graduation to Starbucks and to, sales, food service, retail. And maybe other businesses, but certainly nothing that could be considered in field. There was no such thing as an in field placement almost in a lot of these areas. And so as I got to know Aviation Institute of Maintenance and Tidewater Tech and Centura, these hard trade schools 22 years ago, I got interested in, well, what would it be like to be involved in an educational pathway that not only leads to in-field placement, but does it quickly and efficiently, rather than 4 years of investment and $80,000 worth of investment, and that was back in those days money. What would it look like to do 9 or 12 months of investment and more like $10,000, or an average debt of even less? And so all of this is to say, in the last 5 years, our society has woken up, right? We sort of got out of this 3-decade long sleep that said, go to college, it'll be fine. Go get a 4-year degree. That's your starting place. And we finally said, well, wait a minute. We just woke up from a bad dream, because it costs $500 to even get a plumber to show up at my house before they even pull out their wrench. It takes $800 for an electrician to show up at my house, much less diagnose a problem. And when I go to the dentist, a 10-year degree for it to be a dentist, it only costs me about $150. How did this happen? Right? So the idea that it's time to start questioning the value of different educational platforms and modalities is just now here. And so what I would say is, it's in career education, the sector that I'm in, it's a good time to be good people who are good at what we do. And so, yes, while overall in our country, community college enrollments are down, because I think it's because people are really questioning, what will I get out of that? And how is that a bad question? It's not. We all realize, no, that's exactly the question. And they look at a school like mine where it said, hey, after 20 months of education, I'm actually making somewhere between $70,000 and $80,000 as my first job working for an airline. Is this for real? And the answer is, it's for real.
Tell them like it is.
Do you think the pandemic changed the view a little bit? Because I think somebody's going to have to do a study about this. I think the answer is yes. I want to know what you think, because at some level, career education grads became essential workers, and that was this tag or badge of honor. Like, so you're going to go into hellfire and brimstone of this disease because somebody's got to do it. And this career education, aviation technician or medical assistant or whoever, that's who they were. And all of a sudden, we realized where a lot of our infrastructure is coming from. What do you think about that?
I think that COVID had made a lot of, I don't know, I almost want to say global soul searching happen.
Yeah.
On one hand, being separated from others made us think about, it gave us this moment to think about life and what life is and isn't, should and should not be, and what I would do if I could start over. And a lot of people started over. And I think that it probably goes along with the kind of the contemporary workforce of Generation Y and Z, who everyone's questioning, why do I have to do this like I was told? Can't I do this for myself? And so, or can't I do this in a way that makes sense to me? Anytime I hear, younger employees are credited for being the ones who say, where's my work-life balance? And I think that's very positive that we can think about our own psychology first. I think that's a positive thing.
Very positive, yeah.
But it also makes us think, well, then what can I do? What's possible? Is it possible that I could stay in school for a shorter period of time and make just as good a salary? The answer has always been yes, but now we're allowed to say it.
You're right. If you said it before, you were going to get fired from somewhere because you were hurting the revenue line, right?
If you 10 years ago, if you would have said, what's the value in a college degree? You would have been looked at to be saying, oh, because you're not smart enough. I understand why you would ask. You just want to be a mason. Right. You just want to be a carpenter. So you're not part of our club. Right. Today, if you make the decision to be a carpenter at 18 and go through a 9-month carpentry program and you're making money at age 19, you're a genius, right?
I love it. It's so true, right? Because you've hacked your way. I wrote this article a while ago that students are learning how to hack their way to money and jobs. They're going for shorter programs. They're looking for embedded credentials, and many schools are not built structurally to handle the student that they're going after. Career colleges are really, really good at adult student enrollment. You've got somebody who's switching careers. I'm going to bring them in. I'm going to offer them flexibility. There's going to be more intake periods. We're going to give them individualized support. We're going to ramp you up if you've not gone through this type of education before, and we're going to let you start at these periods. And community colleges and others are just getting around to the fact where they're understanding that they have to offer things in a different way, and if you're operating in 15 states, maybe you have people that work in different time zones. And it's like, well, if you want to access this market, you might need people in different time zones. There's a structural piece to this, isn't there, to be able to do this work?
Well, there absolutely. And really, it's not only structural, it's allowing yourself to choose something you're passionate about, get just the right training to turn that passion into a profession, and just the certification required to turn that profession into a lucrative one for yourself, and make that move. It is amazing the opportunity that we've allowed. I also want to say one thing else about COVID that's a little more specific to aviation and Aviation Institute of Maintenance. So like a number of professions, COVID illustrated a need and to some extent created a need that's very powerful. The medical professions is obviously one of them. I think one of the things we realized as a country and probably as a planet is that if we don't have good, prepared, calm healthcare workforce, then all hell can break loose and we might not be okay, right? And so I think that's one of the reasons why healthcare professions are so direly needed. Every nurse, anyone who's ever thought about being a nurse should do that because it's just so direly needed. Aviation had a different one. So real quick, when the pandemic happened, the government did a lot of bailout money for a lot of different things. Probably most of the people listening to this can think of a way that the government did something with money to try to help as much as they could. Aviation was one of those. The government said to the aviation industry, if you won't lay people off, then we will fund you through the middle of October of 2020. That's exactly what they did. But when that date came, middle of 2020, that funding stopped, and just about every airline gave early retirements to as many people as they could. Now, what that meant was,
yikes!
When we came back, if the airline industry could rebound, which of course we know not only has it rebounded, the last 2 years have been the height years of aviation in all of history. It's amazing. But they had just laid off about a third of their workforce. I'm sorry, not that many layoffs, but early retirements put about a third of the workforce, into retirement period. And so in 2022, when aviation rebounded, 2023 off the charts, 24 biggest year ever, they were attempting to do all of this with about a third smaller workforce than they had. And that is why today, the salaries for aircraft maintenance technicians, salaries for pilots, salary for really anyone around aviation has gotten so high because it's such a great need. It's also, by the way, why some people are listening to this podcast on a runway right now, and that flight is delayed, and they don't know how long they're going to be there. Sorry, my friends, it's because of a workforce shortage that we're trying desperately to try to backfill by putting technicians into seats.
It's fascinating. This is all fascinating because there's such social impact to this. Economic impact we know, but the social impact. If AIM didn't exist, you'd have 22% less airplane technicians, and what would that do to our national infrastructure? If you think that would affect every single one of us on levels that we can't even comprehend.
It would make the cost of your ticket even higher. It would It would make the senator, congressperson, president and vice president who are waiting on, well, I guess they have their own planes, but
Yeah.
those who are waiting for commercial are waiting for my students to be there. Absolutely right. Real impact.
So what's next for AIM? I mean, what do? You go to every major airline hub in the U.S.? I mean, what's the big hairy goal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do a great job with our schools. We've been opening a campus at the rate of about one campus per year. Just this year, Phoenix, Arizona, our brand new campus just south of the airport. The year before that, it was Chicago. Year before that, it was Charlotte. And so we're always looking at new locations. I'm not at liberty to say which is the very next location, but that sort of one per year is how we think about things. But the other thing that I'm really interested in is how I can work directly with airlines on the kind of training that works for them. I'm going to give a couple of stories. I'm not going to name their names in this format, but we've got a couple of airlines who pay for part of the student's tuition, in turn for that student locking in the guarantee that they will come to work for them as a technician afterwards.
Heck yeah, that what a great make sense thing to be doing if I was the airline.
Yeah, and I've had airlines say, would I be allowed to have the student sign a contract that they'll come to work with me later? Is that okay?
Holy crap!
And of course, you and I know that what the student and their parent here is helping pay for tuition and a job. I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly.
It is the best case scenario. I have a manufacturer who has a specific kind of application. It's a military background, so I can't say anything about it. I love the stuff I'm not allowed to talk about.
Clearance. That's what you need, folks.
So in order to keep our nation secure, they have to do this kind of training of our graduate once they graduate. And they came to us and say, can't you just train them on this thing before they graduate? And so we embed coursework and skills and activities that will follow that student right to the employer. So you asked me what my hairy goal is. I want to just do more directly for the airlines, have them tell me, what are we missing in our education? Because you tell me that, and the next graduates you see will not be missing that. So really customizing the experience for the manufacturers, for the airlines, for the group called the MRO, Maintenance, Repair, Overhaul Stations, so that an AIM graduate is not only skilled and certified, but also has those specialized training exposure that will benefit them more. And so getting more embedded with the employer while the student is with me.
Is there anything else you want to say about AIM before we bring you back for a mini episode for our subscribers? You get the last word.
Yeah, I just think that, look, there is a pendulum in higher education. That is for sure. It's not a what's better, a degree program or a skilled trades program. It's not that. There's this pendulum that swings and changes, and so skilled trades training is getting its turn right now. But I'll invite all of my educational colleagues, no matter what sector of education you're in, it's about all of it. When I was an English professor, I wanted to develop my students' communication skills. And now that I'm a skilled trades professional, I want to develop my students' employability and communication ability and the professionalism, the ability to be promoted, and the ability to sit for a degree program if they want to. It's not either or. It's all about what is best for the student's robust life and ability to be in a great place, not only right when they graduate, but for a whole lifetime. And so, to me, it's not sort of a battle of what's best. To me, it's how do we best equip the student for every component of their life through the educational process.
I know there's somebody listening to this podcast right now working in some other sector of higher ed that goes, that's great to hear about these schools. Why should I care? Well, you should care because you fly. And if you fly, you want to know that people who are working on your plane are trained. If you want to have an electrician come to your house and fix your electrical, you probably need to care about career colleges. If you want to go to the medical office and have a medical assistant go in with just one time to puncture you and take your blood instead of 20 times, probably you're going to need to care about the career education sector. So we celebrate the work that you're doing. We appreciate you in serving students. Ladies and gentlemen, he's our guest. No, he's your guest today. He's Dr. Joel English. He is the president of the Aviation Institute of Maintenance. And your guest today, Joel, did you have fun on the podcast?
It was a great time. I appreciate it. I wish I would have had some sound effects myself. I could have played one. So,
those are proprietary to me.
Okay, great. Okay.
There you have it, everybody. You've just ed up. Higher education is evolving. And if you're in marketing and enrollment management, then you need to be at the Insights EDU conference.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Insights EDU 2025 is happening February 12 through 14 in New Orleans, Louisiana. This is your chance to explore the latest trends in higher education and discover new and innovative strategies to level up your program marketing and enrollment. Hear from some of the best speakers in the industry, from companies like Google, LinkedIn, Adobe, and more. Registration is now open, so secure your spot while early bird pricing is still available.
Hey, everybody. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Did you enjoy that conversation? I hope you did. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early on and ad-free? And you can also hear extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. Did you know that? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com to subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, that's edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.